Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Oklo. It is time for another update, and a few weeks ago I have given you a trade setup for this stock. I have identified a potential initial 5V move to the upside, which would allow us to look with high probabilities for a 3-wave correction into the support zone that we have here in orange between $64.5 down to $50.8. And as long as we do not get a sustained break below the last level of support, right, the 78.6% retracement, we can expect with high probabilities at least another 5-wave move to the upside. That would be the minimum expectations I have for this structure. If it doesn't manage to build more than that, nothing we can really do about it, but this is the likely portion of the structure. Even if further extensions fail, this is the high probability part, and this alone can be interesting because we have gotten the first confirmation when we built this initial 5-wave up. Then we got the second confirmation as we built the 3 waves down into the support zone, right? Not only that, we have a third degree of confirmation by building here an internal initial 5V move to the upside. I can now look for an internal trade setup where, once again, I am hinted at that I would expect to build at least another 5V move to the upside. Given that I already have 5 waves up from the larger degree, it is rather likely than not that this entire pattern would be expected to play out, building not only within the smaller time frame here, a 5V move up, but afterwards, I would expect then a wave 4 and a wave 5 to build from the large degree perspective a 5-wave pattern up. So we are in a position of high probability structures, and there is no guarantee that this smaller time frame setup will work out, right? It might fail, we might get a full reset of the wave 2, let's say. There is no guarantee that even the larger setup, the larger area of support, will hold afterwards. But we have these as high probability patterns, and if we manage to stay in the game and follow them often enough, it is most likely that we will see success in this endeavor. Now, let me provide some context for you, because this move up is not all we can expect of this structure. We could be looking, sure, to build this wave C and be done with it, but it can actually do so much more because on the large time frame, we have the potential to build a few patterns forward, a few patterns that would allow extensions to new all-time highs even. So, even in a tame white scenario, a tame white interpretation, where we would be building a leading diagonal, but in the white scenario instead, where the wave 1 would have topped here, I would have to assume this to be a wave A up, this would be my wave B down, so I would be looking only for a wave C within the wave 3. The ideal target for such a wave C sits around $500, the 100% extension of the wave A. It doesn't need to get there, but this is a rough guide for where it typically is drawn towards. Sure, it might stop at the 78.6% extension, only $300. Even then, we are looking at massive upside, a 5x, right? It could do even more than that realistically. So before we get into all those possibilities, let's focus on the smaller time frame, get a better feel for what we can expect internally. So in this structure, I'm going to hide for now this larger structure, this larger interpretation, because I want to focus on the internal 1-2 setup where I can track some resistance levels. We have some different levels we can generally track. We would have here the possibility of something like an A, B, C pattern, in which case we would have pushed into the last level of resistance, the 78.6% retracement, before we got rejected. Sure, perfectly understandable. Breaking this level would have meaningful implications. I could also drag this resistance level a bit higher, but ultimately what I want to see in the case of this chart is a break above the previous swing highs. I wanted to see a break above $79.5, above $80, above $81.5. We also have here a guiding trend line. Breaking it, even if it may be at lower levels, would be a helpful visualization when the trend is changing. Now, with that said, I am looking to build a wave 3 within this structure. There are a few ways this could unfold, especially if we follow the larger orange wave tree, because sometimes those do become quite bullish. It could be building something like a series of 1-2 setups, in which case it might be more realistic to hit our head against this resistance trend line, form an internal wave 2 correction before we actually take off. Then if we actually manage to build directly a wave 3, yeah, something like a 1-2 3, I would expect even the trend line to not be a problem. Let's not get into all those details at the moment because they're not so important, as we are still looking to reach the support zone. We haven't actually done that just yet. So I am looking in a wave 2 as always for a 3-wave correction. I have the possibility to track such a pattern to even be in place. I would have something like an A wave down, B wave up, and this could be my wave C to the downside. This could bottom quite early, I have to say. As soon as we reach this support zone, it would have fulfilled the minimum expectations. I might need to do some small adjustments, as I may have not drawn it exactly perfectly, but generally we are looking at $65.2 for this wave 2 first level of support. This is the minimum expectations. Once it's done, we need no further lows because we already have 3 waves down. Then, as long as we hold the 78.6% retracement at $57.6, we can still expect with high probabilities this pattern to work out to form at least another 5V move to the upside. And this could still be within resistance, even though I do not generally prefer it. Now, before we end the video, let me give you some ideas of where we could be looking to form a more substantial bottom based on structural support. So, in the smaller time frame, actually, we should start here. We have this previous swing low within this internal wave 4, a common level to reach within the large degree wave 2. It could very easily bottom in this region. Then, if I actually go ahead and zoom out a bit, I have several substantial lows within this region, the region of the blue support zone, where we are actually quite close. I would consider structural support to have already started around $66.5. And from my perspective, it goes all the way down to $60, right? Around this area is where I find it the most interesting, the most likely to form a bottom. If it forms a wick below it, it's not really a problem. We still have some room for support even below these levels because the blue support zone once again goes as low as $57.6. And to be clear, it is not necessary to bottom within this low, within this 3-wave pattern. This structure could actually extend. It could form a larger wave 2, something like an A, B, C structure without any issues. It could very easily extend into the next week. But for now, we will stop here. These are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and if you enjoyed the content and want to support it directly, check out the channel membership, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.